Thank you very much. Thank you to Matt. What a job he and Mercedes have done. This CPAC is a hot item. You got a lot of people standing outside trying to get in. Would anybody like to give up their slot? Would anybody? So I want to just pay my respects. CPAC is really, what a job they've done. And I'm thrilled to be back in the heart of Texas with the proud conservative patriots who are courageously leading the battle to, frankly, save our country. That's what it's about. For a year before the election, the fake news media said Texas was in play. It's in play. You know what in play means? Like it's close. And they were right, except it was only in play for me. For me and you, actually. No, it was in play for me. They said, the polls have closed in Texas. Donald Trump has won Texas. You know, it was like, but how long did we listen to it? It was in play. It will never be in play if we have the right candidate. This state is never going to be in play. This is a very, very special place. And we're going to keep it the way it is. And we're going to bring back your energy. I told you this was going to happen. I told you. Actually, Texas believed us. With the help of everyone here today, we will defeat the radical left, the socialist Marxists, and the critical race theorists. Whoever thought would be even using that term? We will secure our borders. We will stop left-wing cancel culture. We will restore free speech and fair elections. And we will make America great again. It's very simple. Very simple. From the very beginning, the people in this room have been some of the staunchest and fiercest supporters of our incredible movement, the greatest political movement in the history of our country. And I can say that, and nobody ever even challenges me. Look at all those fake news people back there. They don't challenge us. They don't even challenge. I want to personally thank each and every one of you for your incredible support and your support of CPAC. You never stopped fighting for me, and I will never, ever stop fighting for you. Promise. I especially want to thank two wonderful and really extraordinary people who make this incredible event possible. You know them almost as well as I do, Matt and Mercedes Schlapp. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Stand up, please. Thank you. Great job. Great job. You've taken it to a whole new level. I appreciate it. Everybody appreciates it. Thank you. It's true. We all won. We all won. Also with us is a true Texas conservative and a real leader. Where is he? Ken Paxton. Where is he? Oh, look at that. And he is. He's fast on the draw. We love Ken. Thank you, Ken, very much. We appreciate you being here. We're also grateful to be joined Mom is not a, his mom is a big supporter of ours, by the way. He's going to have a rough night. We're grateful to be joined as well by a wonderful, wonderful, not only political person, but a wonderful person, Governor Kristi Noem. Governor, thank you, Kristi. Great job. And we have many, many members of Congress here. Could I ask our great Congressmen and women to stand up, please, right now? Good. What a group. What a group. What a group. All warriors. Thank you very much. Thank you, fellas. Warriors. Truly are. They are truly warriors. And countless other conservative leaders and politicians and people that we love and we respect and we are fighting with and we're fighting for. For generations, the American Conservative Union has helped lead the charge to defend our values, protect our country, and preserve our glorious American heritage. You see, they're taking our heritage away. That's not going to happen. Not going to happen. And we were doing so well until the rigged election happened to come along. We were doing really well. But today that heritage is under threat like never before. Who would have thought this could have happened? Even Bernie Sanders is saying, I never thought this could happen. He's mild by comparison. In a matter of mere months, Joe Biden has brought our country to the brink of ruin. Right here in Texas, we are the epicenter of a border and migration crisis unlike anything anyone has ever seen before in the history of our country. At the same time, they have totally obliterated your energy industry. I told you. Under my administration, we achieved a historic reduction in illegal immigration. Never happened before to that extent, and not even close. We ended the horrible catch and release, where we catch a criminal and release him into our country. We actually said, nope, it's called Stay in Mexico, and it worked very well. And we had the support of Mexico. Who else could do that? And you have a great president of Mexico, a friend of mine. He's done a great job. We're on opposite sides of the spectrum, but we got along great, and he's been terrific, and I appreciate it. We stopped asylum fraud, and we struck critical agreements with other countries to stop illegal immigration. We called it, in fact, remain in Mexico. You don't come here, get released, and you never see these people again. They don't come back. They say, come back in 3 years for a court case. Only the really not smart ones, I want to be nice. Only the really not smart ones come back, which is about 1%. We reduced drugs pouring across our border by the highest percentage ever in the history of our country. It's not just people. We shut down the migrant caravans. You haven't seen those caravans. You get ready because they're coming up right now. You've been watching them come through. And in those caravans, you have some deadly people. We dealt a crippling blow to MS-13. We deported criminal aliens by the thousands and thousands and thousands, and we built almost 500 miles of border wall, the exact wall that the Border Patrol wanted. I thought we could use nice concrete plank, just knock it out. They said, sir, we want steel, concrete, and rebar. And it has to be wired, sir, so we can have all the drones the Democrats. Remember they wanted drones? I said, drones are not going to stop people. Do you remember the statement during the campaign? Two things, everything's obsolete like 2 days after they come up with it nowadays, right? Computers, everything obsolete. They get a better one. Two things, right? What are they? Wheels and walls. They never change. In 1,000 years, you'll say wheels and walls. Walls work. Walls work. Just ask Nancy Pelosi. She has a nice wall around her house. Now the Biden administration has turned the border into the single greatest disaster in American history, and perhaps in world history. Nobody's ever seen a border like this. Other countries don't have a border like this. Illegal border crossings are up over 1,000% from last year. Think of this. Think of this. For the last 3 months in a row, more illegal alien minors have arrived than any other month in United States history. This is the major pipeline for MS-13. These are the worst gang members, they say, anywhere in the world. They bring recruits to every state in our country. They run it like a business, but not with me. We were throwing them the hell out of here so fast. ICE, 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 the great patriots, tough people, ICE, and they've been disrespected. We can't have them disrespected. Border Patrol Brandon's here someplace probably. Oh, where the hell is Brandon? He is so great. What a job he's done. Yes, thank you. Thank you. ICE and Border Patrol. Overall, illegal youth arrivals are up nearly 500%. Think of that. And they're being resettled in cities and towns all across the United States at taxpayers' expense. And the people in those cities and towns have no idea that they're coming. The taxpayers will also be forced to pay for relatives to be flown from Central America to join them. Did you ever hear of chain migration? You come in illegally and we'll also bring your mother, your father, your grandparents, your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, your uncles. Anybody else want to come in? Come on in. We had one on the West Side Highway. He was driving rapidly down the West Side Highway at a very excessive speed. New York City, Hudson River, beautiful new park. And he saw people working out, a big group of people, and he decided to make a right turn. And he killed many and he maimed many. People go out because they want to put themselves in shape, and they end up going back home missing a leg, missing a couple of arms, or dead. That's what happened. And he had the right to bring people in with him, his family, his mother and father and his brother. And he had many that he brought in, but we took very good care of him. But this administration doesn't do that. Many of these children, for the first time ever, it's a terrible thing is happening to them, are on suicide watch. They end up in a place that they have no idea where it is. No idea, not the border. It's all, our whole country has become a border. Meanwhile, ICE removals are at the lowest level ever. And they are great people. They're patriots and they're tough. The agency has been functionally shut down. All of America is now one giant sanctuary city. We were fighting sanctuary cities and doing very well. They're meant for criminal aliens. That's what they're meant for. Under our administration, we sent a very different message to the coyotes, human traffickers, child smugglers, vicious criminal cartels, and savage MS-13 gang members. When I was president, illegal alien criminals knew that if they trespassed across our border, they would be caught, they would be detained, and they would be sent to jail, or we would send them the hell back to where they came from. We created the most secure border in all of American history by far. Biden's border crisis is also helping drive an unprecedented crime wave. And you see the crime wave. Even without this, you see all in Democrat-run cities. Please remember that. The bloodshed and violence in these cities is reaching epidemic proportions. Homicides are up 42% in Los Angeles, 37% in Philadelphia, 68% in Atlanta, and over 500% in Portland over this time last year. Think of that, Portland. What they did to Portland, and nothing happens to Antifa, and nothing happens to BLM, but to people that are patriots or conservatives or Republicans. They stay in jails for extended periods of time, and they destroy their lives. But we're not going to take it anymore. In New York City, crime is out of control. It's at record levels with nobody being prosecuted except, of course, innocent Republicans are being prosecuted. The Democrats know their policies on crime are so unpopular, so radical, so crazy. They are now trying to pretend they never led the defund the police movement in the first place. Disinformation. We never said defund the police. You know who did it? The Republicans did it. That's what they do. It's called disinformation. How about Russia? Trump had to do with Russia. He loves Russia. He loves Putin. He loves everybody. Turned out to be the Democrats, right? After 2 years, they figured, gee, And after a while, people actually believe this stuff. But now they're saying defund the police. Well, we didn't say it, it was the Republicans. It's called disinformation. You have to be wise to it. It's very simple. If you support defunding the police, vote for the radical left Democrats, and you see what's happening to the cities where they defunded the police. There's never been anything like it. If you want more police and more cops on the streets, vote for America First Republicans. Or let's put it very simply, vote for MAGA. Make America great again. MAGA. MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. The same far-left Democrats who are defunding police are also leading an all-out crusade to strip you, the law-abiding citizens of America, of your God-given Second Amendment rights. I told you again, I told you, I told you. And I preserved that right 100%. And you think that was easy? It wasn't easy. There was so much pressure. There was so much pressure. Republicans must never waver in demanding that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Can't let it happen. Thank you. Thank you very much. But it's not only the Second Amendment that the leftists want to destroy. They are hard at work to abolish the First Amendment as well. Probably all amendments when you get right down to it. Why not? The radical left and big tech's attack on free speech is unlawful, it's unconstitutional, and it is completely un-American. To protect the constitutional rights and liberties of every citizen, this week I filed a major class action. A lot of people are joining. Yep, a big class action lawsuit against the big tech giants. We are suing Facebook, Twitter, and Google. And to show you the arrogance, I was just talking to Mercedes, I guess. Matt, you announced that they're trying to take this incredible, I think much more than 50% of our country. I really do. Because there's no way they can be 50% with defund the police, sanctuary cities, and all of the crazy things that they espouse. There's no way. But I heard they just filed where they want to take everybody down. Honestly, they're going too far. They're going too far. They're so spoiled. You know, it's like a spoiled child. I want that toy, Dad, but I also want this one, this one, this one. Eventually, bad things happen. We are taking Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey, and the other Silicon Valley billionaires to federal court, and we will keep on fighting until we have stopped this assault on our liberties and until we have restored the sacred right to freedom of speech for every single American. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Could anybody believe we're even talking about this subject 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Who would have believed it? In addition to their malicious attacks on free speech, these Silicon Valley tyrants are also attacking our democracy itself. The big tech election interference in 2020 was an outrageous assault upon our republic and upon the American voter. Terrible thing has happened to our country. We're being laughed at all over the world. Our election has been studied by other countries. They're not going to do it that way. Mark Zuckerberg alone spent $400 million on election meddling. In virtually all of the key swing states, he funded unmanned and unprotected drop boxes that were deployed in Democrat-run cities and heavily Democrat precincts to scoop up ballots which were supposedly 94, 95, 96% for Joe Biden because he campaigned so well from his basement. How about where Biden did substantially better in the swing states than Barack Hussein Obama with the black population? Now, even though he did terribly throughout the country, but in those 5 places, he did very well. You know about that, Louis, right? He did five places, he did very well. Beat Obama with the black population. I don't think so. But they practiced that and countless other schemes to illegitimately and illegally boost the Democrat vote. The drop boxes were often very late. Where are they? Where are they? What happened? They're supposed to be here. They're not. I can tell you what happened. Sometimes late by days in showing up to the vote counting areas. At the same time, the big tech giants worked together to suppress and diminish news coverage that was negative for Joe Biden. Look at all these stories that came up, and they were wiped out. Anything negative for Biden or the radical left Democrats, they just suppressed. In the most horrendous example, the oldest newspaper in America, and one of my favorites, it's a great one, the New York Post, broke one of the biggest scandals ever to emerge in a presidential election, providing extraordinarily detailed evidence of the corruption of Joe Biden. And where's Hunter Biden? You know where he is? He's painting right now for $500,000 apiece. Where's Hunter? His highest and best use, I can tell you, is in a studio to paint, even though he's never painted before. He set a record for the highest price for a person that never painted a picture before, never did a painting before. Then, without any basis whatsoever, Twitter and Facebook banned the New York Post's account of this terrible story. After the election, one poll showed that at least 10% of Joe Biden's voters would have switched their vote if they had known about Joe and Hunter Biden scandals, enough to flip the results of numerous states. But don't worry about it, because we won those states anyway. We won them all. Probably the only thing I disagree with. It wouldn't have mattered. They would have found the votes. They would have found those votes. If it was reported, they would have found the votes. A little more. They would have churned out some more ballots. The truth was covered up, and it had a giant impact on the election. This must never happen to another party's presidential candidate again. Can never happen. We are a laughingstock all over the world, a laughingstock. And you know who knows it better than even the people in this room? Democrats. They know it. Furthermore, these big tech companies interfered with and undermined the sacred integrity of the ballot box by censoring any honest discussion of election fraud. You say election fraud, you get canceled. That's the one thing they want to stay away from. You know, the cancel culture, they're very tough on it, but the thing they really don't want is because we're too close to home. We got too close. Read Time magazine from 4 months ago, the cover story. They couldn't help themselves. It doesn't go all the way, but it goes far enough, and you see what they did. They want to stay away from talking about the election results. Every time the media references the election hoax, they say the fraud is unproven. And while there is no evidence, there's so much evidence. You saw what happened in Georgia the other day. They found 35,000 votes. Then they deleted in Georgia over 100,000 votes. I said, because they were so bad voters. I said, why didn't you try doing it before the election? Lost by this much. Why didn't you do it before the election? There's bad things going on in this country, very bad things. We always had the reputation of being a wonderful, brilliant country for voting. And now everyone knows. They've watched, they're very smart, and they see what happened. The governor of Georgia and Georgia Secretary of State let us down. They let us down. And by the way, the voting law they passed is far weaker than that of Texas and other states. You hear that, Mr. Attorney General? They don't even have signature verification. Could you imagine passing a voting law? But they're getting a little good because everyone thinks, oh, they're passing this. No, it's not. And you notice they're the only state that's being sued by the federal government. You know why? Because it's an easy target. Because the governor and the Secretary of State won't defend like that guy will defend. So I only speak the truth. So true. And the reason the Attorney General of the United States is going after Georgia is it's so bad what they've done, and they'll probably win, and that defense won't take place. They go out and they really work very hard on finding the right state to look at. Now, Stacey Abrams in Georgia got them to sign what's called a mandated consent decree, which was not approved by the legislature, therefore it's illegal, and makes it very easy for Democrats to cheat and to win elections. You don't have too many of them in Texas, do you, Louis? Doc Ronnie, do we have it? The great Doc Ronnie? My doctor became a congressman, right? He only beat 22 people. 22 people, he was great. I said, Doc, how about if I take a cognitive test? He said, well, you can do it, sir, but if you do, it'll be public. Well, I said, what's wrong with that? He said, well, if you don't do well, sir, it's not going to be pretty. I said, is it hard? He said, after the first 5 questions, it gets very hard. I said, let's take a shot at it. And we did it, and we aced it, right? I aced it. And one of the doctors said he's never seen anybody that aced it. And some of those questions are not easy, I will tell you that. How do you think Joe would do on a cognitive test? Hey, you never know. Maybe he's underneath there. There's somebody that's very unusual. Unfortunately, this was an election where the person that counts the votes was far more important than the candidate, no matter how many votes that candidate got, and we got record numbers of votes. It's a disgrace to our nation, and we are truly being scorned and disrespected all over the world. Never forget that the radical left is not the majority in this country. We are the majority, and it's not even close. It's not even close. And when you look at their policies, it's just no way that can happen. There's no way. Weak military, they fight against the military, always fighting budgets, military. We need strong military right now, so strong. And having rebuilt the U.S. military is one of my greatest achievements. It was a sick and tired military. The equipment was old and depleted. And now we have those brand new F-35s and everything's brand new, and we have a great military, or it's coming soon and they won't be able to stop it. But the radical left cheat in elections, and the fake news media cheats in polling, like having me down 17 points just before the election in Wisconsin. Donald Trump, ABC News, Washington Post, just before. Now, when people hear that, it's called suppression. They say, we love the president, but we're going to stay home. Let's watch television, Harry. I said, that's a good idea. Harry's going to stay home with Janet. I'm down 17 points, and I felt I was winning the state, and we did, in my opinion, win the state. But it was very close, even by their fake numbers. It was very close. So they have it down 17 points. And interestingly, in 2016, the exact same thing happened. They had me down 19 points. Same people, ABC News, Washington Post, suppression. I was down 19 points, and I won the state. So that's a fake poll. It should be illegal. That's a fake poll. The same people At least they got better. They had 17 instead of 19. But I was down 4 years ago. You know, we got them by surprise in 2016. They said, we're never going to let that happen again. That's what happened. Americans do not support the woke left. The people are with us. You have no idea how much. You have no idea how much. In a recent, highly respected Rasmussen poll, 58% of voters say the media is truly the enemy of the people. Think of that. 58%. And only 23% disagreed. Nobody can tell me that defunding the police, open borders, raising your taxes. It used to be, you're running for office, we're going to cut your taxes. This is the only time in history we're going to raise your taxes. Oh, I'm going to vote for him. I want to raise it. And they're raising your taxes so you can waste this money on the Green New Deal, which is nonsense. So they want to put back the regulations. I took off more regulations than any president in history. And that's what gave us, really, I actually think, Louis, it was more important than the taxes, than cutting taxes, but we took off the regulations. It used to take 20 years to get highways approved and roads approved. And we got it down to 2, and we're going to try and get it down to 1. Well, we were going to get it down to 1. Now we're going to have to wait a little while, I guess, you know. It'll get back up to about 18 or 20 pretty soon, and then we'll bring it down one day. You just wait and see. The Democrats are terrible in policy, but they're very vicious, and they're smart, and they stick together. They don't have Mitt Romneys and little Ben Sasses and Bill Cassidy. How about Bill Cassidy? He campaigns in the great state of Louisiana. He campaigns that he's Trump's friend. Every ad has Trump in it. Trump, 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 Trump. And then he votes to impeach me. I mean, can you believe it? But I always sort of felt that about that guy. Lightweight. But you have another very good senator there. John Kennedy. He's very good. Very good senator. And Bill Cassidy can't walk down the streets of Louisiana without having nasty things said to him. And they don't have anyone, the Democrats, like the warmonger and most quoted Republican in the history of our country by Democrats, Liz Cheney. She's quoted all the time. Every time a Democrat gets up to make a speech, you know this, fellas, right? You have to live with her, I guess. Maybe not much longer. But every time they get up to make a speech, and to quote Liz Cheney, Democrats are ruthless, but they are united. They don't have these Romney types. They don't have them. It must be wonderful to live like that. But they have bad policy, and they have policy that's going to destroy our country. Like socialist and communist movements throughout history, today's leftists do not believe in freedom, they do not believe in fairness, and they do not believe in democracy. They believe in Marxist morality. Anything is justified as long as it hurts their political opponents and advances the radical agenda of their party. It's a radical agenda like nobody has seen before. Before our very eyes, the radical left Democrats are turning the law itself into a weapon for partisan persecution. It's persecution. It's really party. Look at what they're doing to incredible people like Rudy Giuliani. I mean, he's an incredible, greatest mayor in the history of the city of New York, great crime fighter. And at the same time, they're weaponizing the IRS against conservatives and Christians, just like they did with the Tea Party, except worse. There are now 2 sets of laws in this country, one for the left-wing mob, the rioters and the rampagers, who can do whatever the hell they want to whomever they want to do it. And there is another set of rules for law-abiding conservative Americans, happen to be Republicans, who simply want to speak their minds and exercise their rights, like to talk about a rigged election. Talk about a rigged election. But Rudy Giuliani, and I mean that, he is by far the greatest mayor of the city. And now you realize, you know, it means more right now, Matt, than it would have meant 5 years ago when you say that, because you see what the hell is happening to our cities. New York in particular. But one of the great crime fighters of his generation has had his law license taken away by the radical left, all because he was fighting against an election result that he saw was corrupt. That means you can never, ever fight anything. That means, you know, someday it could swing the other way, right? Could swing the other way. Probably won't for a long time, but we're not letting it happen. Under the standard that has now been applied to Rudy, lawyers are no longer free to represent their clients, and their livelihood itself depends on one thing only, whether or not they want to fight the corruption. Think of it. Rudy fought because he saw the election was rigged. And because he fought, they took away his law license in New York and in Washington, D.C. And this is a great man. This is a man. I lived in New York. You could walk down the streets. You were proud of the city. You're not proud of the city anymore. You're not proud of what's happening. While many Democrats fought viciously and got caught lying about the 2016 election, they were lying. Nothing happened. Russia, Russia, Russia. You remember Russia, Russia? I see Devin here. Where's Devin? Stand up.